What if I told you that the American dream hasn't disappeared, it just moved? $2,500 a month. In the United States, that buys survival, basic rent, climbing utilities, modest groceries. Take that same money across the ocean, and suddenly, you're not surviving, you're thriving. Luxury villas, private healthcare, dining out every night without checking the bill. This isn't fantasy, it's economics. It's called lifestyle arbitrage. And today, we're breaking down the 2025 data to show you exactly how moving abroad can triple your retirement wealth overnight. Let's look at the numbers. Using 2025 Numbeo data with New York City set at 100, the US cost of living index sits at 64.9. Panama comes in at 45, Portugal at 45, Thailand at 35, nearly half the US average. Here's what matters. As a US retiree bringing dollars into these economies, your currency buys 2 to 3 times more daily life. This isn't about things being cheaper, it's about the quality of goods and services you receive for the same money. You're not downsizing to save, you're upgrading because your money evolved. Let's break this down into the 3 pillars of retirement spending: housing, food, and healthcare. Section 1, the housing gap. Housing is your largest expense, and this is where the math gets really interesting. In Orlando, Florida, our mid-range US control city, the rent index sits at 42.8. Finding a modern, safe 2-bedroom apartment in a desirable area for under $2,000 monthly is becoming nearly impossible. You're paying for a zip code, not quality construction or amenities. Now watch what happens when we shift locations. Panama's rent index drops to 23.2. Lisbon, Portugal, a European capital, comes in at 33.4. And Thailand, it plummets to 13. Let me translate that index of 13 into reality for you. In a mid-sized US city, your housing budget gets you drywall, a parking spot, and maybe a shared gym that hasn't been updated since 2010. You're hearing your neighbors through thin walls, you're dealing with landlords who raise rent annually, you're in a box. In Thailand, specifically expat hubs like Chiang Mai or Hua Hin, that same financial allocation, or significantly less, gets you a private villa with a pool, weekly housekeeping, and modern furnishings. We're not talking about a downgrade. We're comparing a cramped American apartment against a lifestyle reserved for the top 1% back home. In Panama, for the price of a studio in Miami or Orlando, you can secure a high-rise condo with ocean views in Panama City. Or head to the highlands of Boquete and get a sprawling estate surrounded by coffee plantations and mountain air. These aren't rustic cabins, these are properties with high-speed internet, modern kitchens, and security systems. In Portugal, particularly in cities like Porto or even parts of Lisbon, you can find beautifully restored apartments in historic buildings. Think exposed stone walls, high ceilings, and balconies overlooking cobblestone streets. For the price Americans pay to live in a suburban apartment complex, Portuguese expats are living in centuries-old architecture with character that simply doesn't exist in new American construction. The lifestyle upgrade here is tangible and immediate. It's the difference between hearing every footstep from the apartment above you versus having a garden that separates you from the rest of the world. It's the difference between a kitchen window that looks at another building versus waking up to ocean views or mountain vistas. When the rent index is 70% lower than the US, you stop paying for square footage and start paying for peace of mind. You stop worrying about whether you can afford to renew your lease next year. You stop accepting good enough and start experiencing better than I ever imagined. And here's something most people don't consider. Housing quality affects everything else in your life. When you're comfortable in your home, when you have space to breathe, when you're not stressed about rent consuming your entire budget, you sleep better, you're healthier, you're happier. The psychological weight of housing insecurity is real, and moving abroad lifts that weight entirely. But let's be honest about something. Housing is just the foundation. A nice place to live doesn't mean much if you can't afford to eat well, so let's talk about food. Section 2. The grocery and dining reality. This is where inflation in the United States has been most brutal for retirees on fixed incomes. The groceries index in Orlando is approximately 55. If you've shopped at an American supermarket recently, you know the reality. Fresh produce, quality meats, and organic options have become luxury items. A healthy grocery cart for 2 people easily exceeds $200 a week. You're choosing between fresh fish and frozen, between organic vegetables and conventional. between grass-fed beef and mystery meat. Every trip to the grocery store becomes a series of compromises. Now compare that to Panama at 35.6 or Thailand, which sits between 24 and 27 on the groceries index. The difference isn't just in the total, it's in what that total buys you. In the US, you're paying premium prices for food that traveled thousands of miles, sat in warehouses, and lost half its nutritional value before it hit your plate. In these expat destinations, you're buying food that was picked yesterday, caught this morning, or harvested from farms within miles of your home. But here's where it gets even better. Dining out. In the United States, dining out is an event. It's something you budget for carefully, maybe doing it once or twice a week if you're financially comfortable. You look at menu prices, you calculate tips. You wonder if the experience is worth the $40 or $50 per person. In Thailand or Portugal, dining out becomes a utility. It's part of the daily fabric of life, not a special occasion. Let me paint you a picture of Thailand. Walk through any neighborhood and you'll find street vendors serving pad thai, green curry, or mango sticky rice for $2 to $3 a meal. And we're not talking about questionable food safety. These are meals prepared fresh in front of you using ingredients that would cost you $15 at a Thai restaurant back in the States. Move up to casual restaurants and you're paying $5 to $8 for a full meal with a beer or fresh juice. Go to a Western-style restaurant in an expat area and you might pay $12 to $15 for a steak dinner that would cost $45 in Orlando. You could literally stop cooking entirely, eat restaurant-quality food for every meal, and still spend less than you would on groceries alone in the United States. Think about that. No meal planning, no grocery shopping, no cooking, no dishes, just living. Portugal offers a different but equally compelling dynamic. The groceries index is 40.5, already 40% lower than the US. But here's what makes Portugal special. The quality of raw ingredients is objectively superior to what you find in American supermarkets. Portuguese cheese isn't trying to imitate European cheese, it is European cheese. The olive oil isn't labeled imported because you're at the source. The wine region isn't Napa Valley pricing, it's local production sold at local prices. You're paying less for ingredients that are fundamentally better. A typical lunch in Portugal, the menu do dia or daily menu, runs 8 to 12 euros. That includes an appetizer, main course, dessert, coffee, and sometimes wine. The main course isn't a reheated frozen portion, it's fresh fish grilled to order or a slow-cooked stew that's been simmering since morning. For dinner, even in touristy areas of Lisbon, you can find full meals for 15 to 20 euros per person. Move to smaller cities like Coimbra or Braga, and those prices drop further. In the US, processed food is cheap and fresh food is expensive. So what happens? People on fixed incomes eat more processed food, more frozen dinners, more packaged snacks, more sodium, more preservatives, more health problems down the line. In these expat destinations, that dynamic is completely flipped. Fresh local ingredients are the cheapest options available. The default is healthy because healthy is affordable. You're not making virtuous choices about nutrition, you're making economic choices that happen to be nutritious. When you're paying $2 for a plate of stir-fried vegetables over rice, or €3 for grilled sardines with salad and potatoes, you're not just saving money. You're investing in longevity, you're buying a better diet by default. And let's talk about the social aspect. In America, retirees often become isolated partly because socializing costs money. Meeting friends for dinner is a $50 decision. In Thailand or Portugal, meeting friends for dinner is a $5 decision. The financial barrier to maintaining social connections evaporates. You're not just feeding yourself better, you're living better. But none of this matters if you can't afford to stay healthy. Which brings us to the elephant in the room. Section 3, healthcare, the silent wealth killer. We need to talk about healthcare because this is where the American retirement dream becomes a nightmare for millions. In the United States, healthcare is the #1 cause of bankruptcy. Even with Medicare, the out-of-pocket costs, supplemental insurance, prescription drugs, and dental work can decimate a carefully built nest egg. One serious illness, one fall, one unexpected diagnosis, and suddenly your retirement savings are gone. Let's look at the cold, hard financial reality. A comprehensive insurance premium for a couple in their 60s in the US easily runs $500 to $1,000 monthly, even with subsidies. That's before you've seen a single doctor. Then come the deductibles, often several $1,000s before insurance pays anything. Co-pays for specialists. Out-of-pocket maximums that can hit $10,000 or $15,000 annually. Prescription costs that make you choose between medication and groceries. And the anxiety? That's not even quantifiable. You're living with the knowledge that your financial security is one medical emergency away from collapsing. You delay checkups. You ignore symptoms. You hope problems go away because addressing them might mean financial ruin. Now let's cross the ocean and see what the data shows in our expat destinations. Thailand has become a global center for medical tourism, and the numbers explain why. Thailand has JCI-accredited hospitals. That's the Joint Commission International, the gold standard in global healthcare accreditation. These aren't third-world clinics. These are facilities that meet or exceed American hospital standards. A full, comprehensive checkup in Thailand, including blood work, EKG, chest x-ray, and consultations, costs around $100 to $150. The same checkup in the US, even with insurance, might cost you $500 to $1,000 in co-pays and deductibles. Dental work? A crown in the US costs $1,000 to $1,500. In Thailand, it's $200 to $300 for the same quality. Hip replacement surgery in the US can run $30,000 to $40,000. In Thailand, it's $8,000 to $12,000, including hospital stay and physical therapy. Panama offers a different but equally compelling model. Many doctors in Panama are US trained and board certified. They speak perfect English. The medical culture feels familiar to Americans because many of these physicians literally trained in American hospitals before returning home. A full coverage private health insurance plan in Panama often costs around $150 to $200 monthly for comprehensive coverage. That's not a typo, $150. For coverage, that includes private hospital rooms, immediate access to specialists, minimal or zero deductibles, and no concept of out-of-network penalties. A doctor's visit without insurance costs $15 to $30. Prescriptions that cost hundreds in the US cost $10 to $20 in Panama. An MRI that runs $2,000 in America costs $300 in Panama City. Portugal provides yet another model that Americans find attractive. As a legal resident, you have access to the Portuguese public health system, which is practically free at the point of service. The quality is high. Portugal ranks well in European healthcare metrics. Wait times for routine care are reasonable, and emergency care is immediate. Most expats opt for private insurance as well, which costs 50 to 150 euros monthly, depending on age and coverage level. This hybrid approach gives you the security of knowing serious issues are covered publicly while having private insurance for faster access to specialists or specific doctors. What does this mean in practical terms? In the US, a retiree with a serious health condition lives in constant fear. Every symptom might be another expensive visit. Every new medication is another line item in an already strained budget. You're rationing your own healthcare. In Thailand, Panama, or Portugal, that fear evaporates. The lifestyle upgrade here is security and peace of mind. You're trading a system designed for profit, where hospitals, insurance companies, and pharmaceutical corporations extract maximum value from your vulnerability for systems designed for access, where healthcare is treated as a right or a service rather than a luxury commodity. You stop living in fear of your own body betraying your finances. You stop avoiding checkups. You stop ignoring symptoms. You actually get healthier because you can afford to maintain your health instead of only treating crisis. And here's something profound. When you're not spending $1,000 a month on insurance, when you're not setting aside $5,000 annually for deductibles, when you're not choosing between medication and groceries, that money goes somewhere else. It goes into your quality of life right now. It goes into travel, hobbies, family visits, or simply the security of savings. Healthcare costs in America don't just drain bank accounts, they drain joy, they drain possibility, they drain the very freedom that retirement is supposed to provide. Moving abroad isn't about escaping America, it's about escaping a healthcare system that has become predatory. But I know what you're thinking. This all sounds great in theory, but show me the actual math. Show me what this looks like in real numbers with a real budget. Fair enough, let's do exactly that. Section 4. The $2,500 case study. Let's bring everything together with a concrete case study using that $2,500 monthly budget we mentioned at the beginning. First, let's map out what $2,500 looks like in a mid-range US city like Orlando. Orlando, Florida budget. Rent for a modest 2-bedroom apartment in a safe area, $1,600. Utilities, electric, water, internet, $200. Total housing, $1,800. Groceries for 2 people, $500. Dining out once a week, $100. Total food, $600. So far, we've spent $2,400 of our $2,500 budget. You have $100 left for everything else: healthcare copays, car maintenance, gas, entertainment, clothing, emergencies. You're house poor. You're isolated because you genuinely can't afford to socialize beyond that one weekly dinner out. You're one unexpected car repair away from credit card debt, one dental emergency away from financial stress. This is survival mode. You made it to retirement, but retirement feels like just another form of paycheck to paycheck living. Now let's take that exact same $2,500 and see what it buys in Thailand. Chiang Mai, Thailand budget. Modern 2-bedroom condo with pool, gym, and security, $700. Utilities and high-speed internet, $100. Total housing, $800. Private health insurance, comprehensive, $150. Groceries and market shopping, $250. Dining out 20 plus times per month, $300. Coffee shops and cafes, $50. Total food, $600. So far, we've spent $1,550. That leaves $950 remaining, but let's keep going and see what else this budget includes. Transportation, scooter rental, or grab rides, $100. Massage and wellness, weekly massages, $80. Entertainment and activities, $100. Phone and communication, $20. Now, we've spent $1,850. You still have $650 left over every single month. That's money for travel within Southeast Asia. That's money for hobbies you've always wanted to try. That's money for flying grandkids out to visit once or twice a year. That's money going into savings where it grows instead of being consumed by basic survival. But the numbers only tell half the story. Let's talk about what daily life actually feels like. In Orlando, your day might look like this. Wake up in your apartment where you can hear the neighbors. Make coffee at home because the coffee shop is a luxury. Grocery shop carefully, checking prices, using coupons. Stay home most evenings because going out costs money you don't have. Feel anxious about the slow drain of your savings despite living modestly. In Chiang Mai, your day looks like this. Wake up in your condo. Maybe take a swim in the pool before it gets too hot. Walk to a local cafe for coffee and breakfast, $2 total. Spend the morning reading or working on hobbies. Lunch at a local restaurant with friends, $5, including a beer. Afternoon at a bookstore or exploring a temple. Dinner at a different restaurant, $8 for both of you. Evening walk through the night market. Schedule a massage for tomorrow, $10 for an hour. You're living better on less money. That's the entire point. Now let's look at Panama. Panama City, Panama budget. Modern 1-bedroom apartment in a good neighborhood, $800. Utilities and internet, $150. Total housing, $950. Private health insurance, $200. Groceries, $300. Dining out 12 to 15 times per month, $300. Total food, $600. Total so far, $1,750. Transportation, metro, buses, occasional taxi, $80. Entertainment, $100. Phone, $25. Total, $1,955. You have $545 left over monthly. Panama's slightly more expensive than Thailand, but still gives you significant surplus while offering proximity to the US, just a 3-hour flight to Miami, use of the US dollar, no currency exchange risk, and a climate that many Americans prefer. Finally, let's look at Portugal. Porto, Portugal budget, 2-bedroom apartment in a desirable neighborhood, $900. Utilities and internet, $120. Total housing, $1,020. Private health insurance, $100. Groceries, $400. Dining out 10 to 12 times per month, $250. Total food, $650. Total so far, $1,770. Transportation, public transit, occasional taxi, $60. Entertainment and culture, $100. Phone, $20. Total $1,950. Remaining $550 monthly. Portugal offers the appeal of European culture, excellent wine and food, beautiful architecture, and easy travel throughout Europe. Your surplus might be slightly lower than Thailand, but you're in Europe with access to centuries of history and dozens of countries within cheap flight range. Here's the critical insight. In all three destinations, you have financial breathing room. You have surplus. You have the ability to make spontaneous choices. Want to try that new restaurant? Yes. Want to take a weekend trip? Yes. Want to help a family member? Yes. In America, on the same budget, every decision is a negotiation with your bank account. Spontaneity is a luxury. Generosity is a sacrifice. Living becomes calculating. The $2,500 case study isn't theoretical. There are thousands of American retirees right now living exactly these budgets in exactly these places. They're not special. They didn't have unusual circumstances. They just did the math and made a decision. Section 6. Addressing the concerns. Now, I know some of you are thinking, this sounds too good to be true. What's the catch? What are you not telling me? Let's address the legitimate concerns head on. Language barriers. In all three destinations, you can live comfortably speaking only English, especially in expat communities. That said, learning basic local phrases isn't just polite. It enriches your experience and opens doors. But you don't need fluency to thrive. Safety. Crime statistics in expat areas of Panama, Thailand, and Portugal are generally comparable to or better than mid-sized American cities. Violent crime is rare. Most expats report feeling safer than they did in the US. That said, you need street smarts anywhere in the world. Distance from family. This is real and personal. Video calls help, but they're not the same as physical presence. However, remember, with your $500 to $750 monthly surplus, you can afford to fly family out to visit regularly or fly home yourself. Many expats find they actually see family more often because visits become special events rather than obligatory holidays. Culture shock. Yes, things are different. That's partly the point. But expat communities provide soft landings. You can ease into local culture at your own pace while having English-speaking friends and familiar comforts available. Visa and legal issues. Each country has different visa processes. Panama has the Friendly Nations visa and Pensionado visa. Portugal has the D7 visa for retirees. Thailand has various retirement visa options. All are navigable, especially with local legal help. It's paperwork, not rocket science. What if I don't like it? You're not trapped. Many people do trial runs, rent for 3 to 6 months before committing. If it doesn't work, you go home. You haven't burned bridges. But here's what the data shows. The vast majority of retirees who move abroad stay abroad. Satisfaction rates are extremely high. The question isn't really, what if I don't like it? The question is, what if I love it and I waited too long to try? The data from 2025 is unambiguous. Staying in the United States for retirement is becoming a financial luxury that fewer people can afford without significant compromises. But here's the reframe. Moving abroad isn't about admitting defeat or running away. It's about recognizing that your dollars are a powerful tool, and like any tool, they work better in some environments than others. You spent decades working, you saved, you sacrificed, you did everything right according to the traditional American retirement plan. But the economic landscape shifted, the goalposts moved. What worked for your parents' generation doesn't work the same way now. This isn't failure, this is adaptation. This is taking control of your financial future instead of letting circumstances control you. So here's your choice. Do you want to spend your golden years counting pennies in a cramped apartment, stressed about whether your savings will last, choosing between medications and groceries, isolated because socializing costs money? Or do you want to spend them watching sunsets from a villa, knowing your financial future is secure, eating fresh, healthy food daily, surrounded by community, with surplus income for travel and joy? The same budget, two completely different lives. One path leads to financial anxiety despite careful planning. The other leads to security and abundance. The infrastructure exists. The communities are established. The processes are proven. Thousands of Americans have already made this transition successfully. If you're ready to dive deeper into which destination might be right for your specific situation, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. We have comprehensive videos on Panama, Thailand, and Portugal coming next week, covering visas, healthcare systems, expat communities, climate, cultural considerations, and everything else you need to make an informed decision. This isn't about selling you a dream, this is about showing you data and letting you decide whether the math makes sense for your life. Your retirement doesn't have to be about downsizing and anxiety, it can be about upgrading and freedom. The American dream didn't disappear. It evolved, and it's waiting for you across the ocean. I'll see you in the next video.